If everybody could just take their seats, that would be wonderful. And we'll start. And I'm looking for Mario Moreira, who I do not see, but he will come in at some point. Where is Mario? Ah, thank you, Bea. My name is Rebecca Grace, and I'm the Executive Director of the Pasteur Network. And so tonight, I'll be hosting and guiding you through the presentations of this evening, of which we're very lucky to have. So in order to welcome everybody, it's important that we recognize the dignitaries that are here, representatives from the government of Rio de Janeiro, as well as Brazil. So excellencies and esteemed guests and colleagues, it's an immense honor and privilege to welcome you all to this year's Pasteur Network annual meeting. Estamos reunidos hoje na maravilhosa cidade de Rio de Janeiro, que tem uma rica história científica e uma forte cultura de saúde pública. Aproveitando meu português. Gostaria de informar que durante a cerimônia de abertura haverá tradução simultânea disponível para aqueles que precisarem. Welcome, everyone. As we celebrate, discuss, and debate. Yeah. Some of you didn't understand what I said in Portuguese, but it was saying that my Portuguese was not very good. So I just want to welcome everybody. So as we celebrate, discuss, and debate our collective work, it's also important to reflect on the moments where progress was stifled, sometimes by the very structures that are meant to foster innovation. So today I just want to share a story that speaks to this, and it's the story of Hilario de Gouveia and hereditary retinoblastoma. Does anybody know who he is? Well, that tells you something. So this is an opportunity to figure out who he is. In the late 1800s, a Brazilian ophthalmologist, his name is Hilario, made a discovery that at the time went unnoticed by much of the global scientific community. He was working here in Rio de Janeiro at the Hospital Pedro II, where he treated patients suffering from a rare type of eye cancer, which is called retinoblastoma. It's a devastating disease that primarily affects young children. And through his careful clinical observations, he noticed a very striking pattern. In some cases, the disease seemed to occur in multiple members of the same family. This observation led him to an extraordinary conclusion at that time, which was that the cancer could be inherited, passed down from one generation to the next. In 1891, he published a paper detailing his findings, making him one of the first to hypothesize that retinoblastoma had a hereditary component. His work predated the discovery of genes, so he couldn't know exactly how this inheritance worked. But his observation was a critical step towards understanding the genetic basis of cancer. However, despite the significance of his findings, his work went largely unnoticed. The fact that nobody in this room knew who he was is a good example. His research was published in Portuguese, and at the time, scientific discourse was dominated by English, French, and German. This language barrier, coupled with Brazil's geographical and political isolation in the late 19th century, meant that Hilario's work didn't reach the international audience it deserved. Years later, in the early 20th century, scientists in Europe and the United States made similar discoveries, crediting themselves with identifying the hereditary nature of retinoblastoma. These discoveries laid the groundwork for later breakthroughs in cancer genetics, including the identification of the RB1 gene. It's a mutation that causes the disease. But by then, Hilario's pioneering contribution had been completely forgotten. It was buried under the weight of geographical and linguistic inequities. The delayed recognition of Hilario's work had real consequences. If his findings had been widely known and built upon earlier, the study of hereditary cancer might have advanced more quickly. Treatments for retinoblastoma could have been developed sooner, saving the sight and perhaps the lives of many children. Hilario's story is a reminder that science doesn't exist in a vacuum. Knowledge has to be shared, disseminated freely across borders and languages to benefit humanity. This was one of the core values of Louis Pasteur, and hopefully all of us. We have an obligation to continue to fulfill his legacy. Here, within the Pasteur network and all around the world, there are many Hilarios. And perhaps our greatest collective challenge as a whole as a network is to help them and to ensure that we have a different future that we can imagine for them, and we encourage their work. I want to take one moment just to thank the board of the Pasteur Network, as well as the Strategic Advisory Board. Not all people that participate on boards like to participate on boards and are very constructive. We are extremely grateful, thankful, and helpful to the members of our boards who do that. I also want to make a special thanks to Amadou Sall for his leadership and perseverance, as well as recognizing the Institut Pasteur and Yasmine Belkaid, who you will hear from later this evening. This is her first Pasteur Network annual meeting, and I hope that there are many more. And finally, back to Portuguese, quero agradecer especialmente a Fiocruz, Mario, Savina, Ilka, Pedro, Bea, Lourdes, e muitos outros por sua generosidade, o apoio ao projeto do Pasteur Network. This, of course, also could not have been done without the support of Minister Nísia Trindade, who you will hear from later as well. She unfortunately couldn't be here, but has sent a video, and she continues to be a light for all of us. To continue, I have the great pleasure of introducing Mario Moreira. He is the president of Fiocruz, and I hope the president of Fiocruz for a long time more. Mario, yes. Mario has been at Fiocruz since 1994. His official biography doesn't actually show all of the commitment that he has done. He has brought himself from somewhere where I'm sure even he couldn't have expected to become the president of Fiocruz, and that's a testament to his hard work, perseverance, and commitment. He holds a PhD in public policy, as well as 2 master's degrees, one of which is in public health, in technology, innovation, and management. He also has an MBA. In 2017, he became Vice President of Management and Institutional Development at Fiocruz and was elected president in March 2023. Under his leadership, Fiocruz continues to strengthen its position as a leading institution in scientific research and public health, both in Brazil and globally. Mario will speak in Portuguese, much better than my Portuguese, so please feel free to use your translation, which are sitting on your tables. If there are not enough at your table, just raise your hand or ask a neighbor. Mario? Yeah.
Bonsoir, good evening, boa noite a todos e todas. Primeiramente,
I would like to formally acknowledge the people who I share the stage with. This year I have Dr. Amadou Sall, Professor Yasmine Belkaid, with whom I share a lot of objectives and political values, which have been demonstrated by my talks with her so far. Professor Piot from the School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine of London, Emmanuel Bahal, researcher from Fiocruz. Dear audience, researchers here present, professionals of public health, I would also like to acknowledge my colleagues from Fiocruz who are present here today. This year, Fiocruz has hosted many important international events. For example, the Conference of National Institutes of Health of G20, the Global Summit for Preparing for Pandemics, more recently, the Development Country Vaccine Factory Network, and today we have the pleasure and honor of hosting here in Brazil the Pasteur Network annual meeting. I would say that this meeting is equal in importance to all of these that I just mentioned, especially considering the current times, a moment in which conversations are more important than ever in terms of how we can prepare ourselves equally for emergency situations at a global scale. We've learned a lot through COVID, hopefully. And some efforts at a global scale did not achieve success, and many of us know why. At some point during the pandemic, 25% of the world's population had acquired 75% of the available vaccines. Fiocruz, as a vaccine manufacturer, as a diagnosis institution, and also as an important support center for COVID patients, saw a lot of difficulties, a lot of hardship for importing products for vaccine production, for diagnosis, as well as for, at the time, the purchase of equipment for its hospital, which it had just built at the time. I say this because I believe that we cannot forget this experience that we've been through. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, sanitary emergency of our times, our biological times. I believe that this is what this sequence of events here in Brazil is all about. Soon we will host the G20. We will receive all of the ministers of health here in Brazil. And the principles, the values that guide these meetings are all about a more balanced world, a less asymmetric world, with access to health, the access to health-related products, and also I would say that having access to health and health products also means having balanced science. And that is where Fiocruz is completely aligned to the Pasteur Network. We share values in that sense. The Pasteur Network is essentially a base for knowledge production, a base for researcher training, and why not, a base for the training of scientific leadership at a global scale. Those are also values of Fiocruz. We are completely aligned and together in that effort. And therefore, I hope that this will be a scientific, of course, event, but an event for political reaffirmation for a better, more equal world, so that those in the North and Global South are all able to have access to good science and to health for their impoverished populations. Thank you.
Mario. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Amadou Sall. Amadou is the president of the Pasteur Network, and he is also the CEO of the Institut Pasteur of Dakar. He's a globally recognized virologist and a public health expert, known for his extensive work on epidemic response. The Institut Pasteur of Dakar is a WHO collaborating center for arboviruses and viral hemorrhagic fevers, and his diverse leadership roles have included being the chairman of the Global Outbreak Alert and Response Network and a member of CEPI's Scientific Advisory Board, among numerous others. And he also really likes wrestling, la lutte, from Dakar. Amadou.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, all the official visitors, ladies and gentlemen, estimated colleagues and distinguished guests. It's an immense honor for me to welcome you all at this Pasteur Network annual meeting. This gathering is not just an opportunity to reflect on our achievement, but also a moment to celebrate the power of collaboration and scientific innovation in the fight for global health. As we gather, I would like to pay special tribute to the Osvaldo Cruz Foundation. It's also a huge opportunity for me to salute the extraordinary leadership that you have, Mario. We've been working over these recent years, and your contribution to the network is something I really want to salute. Our presence here is the result of your engagement, of all the work we've been doing, because obviously Fiocruz is one of the most estimated members of our network. I would like also to say that Fiocruz has been a key player in global public health for over a century, shaping by the pioneering effort of Osvaldo Cruz himself. His leadership in the early 20th century, particularly during the vaccination revolt of 1904, where public resistance to compulsory smallpox and yellow fever vaccination erupted into an unrest and offer a powerful reminder of the challenge we face in promoting today health measure. This moment in history underscored the importance of public trust and transparency in communication, and this theme remains today very relevant if the work we do. The eventual success of Cruz vaccination efforts saved countless lives, reinforced that science combined with perseverance and public engagement can overcome even the most difficult barrier. I would like also to highlight a milestone that holds a special significance for all of us, but particularly for me, which is the centenary celebration of our Institute Pasteur in Dakar. Over the last 100 years, Pasteur Dakar has stood as a beacon in scientific excellence in Africa, and from the pioneering work done by our early colleagues to fight yellow fever, to its more actually recent role in producing vaccine or advancing research on emerging infectious disease. The Institute has made contribution to public health not only in West Africa, but globally. As we celebrate this achievement from Osvaldo Cruz, Pasteur, or Pasteur Dakar, or as a people, we must also confront the challenge ahead. The world continues to face pressing health crisis. The mpox outbreak declared public health emergency of international concern. The ongoing Marburg Marburg virus epidemic in Rwanda serves as a stark reminder of the global threat of infectious disease. This challenge called for rapid international coordination, strong health system, and constant vigilance in area where our network research expertise is critical. Additionally, the growing impact of climate change, from devastating floods to shifting disease pattern, is an increasing threat to global health. Flooding in particular have destroyed homes, displaced population, create breeding ground for disease like cholera and malaria. As a scientific community, we must integrate climate resilience into our health strategy and can be prepared to address the health consequences of a changing environment. Among these challenges, we have huge opportunity with innovation that continue to be our greatest ally. We recently know about messenger RNA technology, which played a key role in combating COVID and has opened new avenue for addressing infectious disease. The potential of messenger RNA technology to develop vaccine quickly, effectively against disease like Zika, HIV, or cancer is groundbreaking. We must continue to explore and invest in this platform, expanding its application to protect the world from future pandemic. Another innovation transforming our field is artificial intelligence. AI has revolutionized our approach to data analysis, disease surveillance, and diagnostic, allowing for faster, more accurate response to all crises. It has the potential to enhance our predictive capability and also ensuring that we can better anticipate and respond to epidemic. However, it is our responsibility to ensure that these technologies are accessible to all and are used ethically to reduce health disparity rather than exacerbating them. This is really important, and while we're looking for the future, the Brazil G20 presidency in 2024 offers a unique opportunity to elevate global health on the international stage. Brazil, with its long-standing commitment to public health, exemplified by Fiocruz, is well positioned to lead global discussion on health equity, vaccine access, and the strengthening of health system. Under Brazil leadership, we anticipate a renewed focus on interaction of health, climate change, and sustainable development. This is a critical moment for us to contribute to shaping the global health agenda and ensuring that vulnerable populations are not left behind. As we embark on this important work in this meeting, I would like to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to all our partners coming here to us, to our strategic advisory board, to the organizing committee, to our amazing executive director, Rebecca Grace. Your tireless effort and dedication are the foundation of our success. It is through your collaboration and commitment that Pasteur Network continues to be a global leader in public health. As we move forward, we carry us lesson of history, the drive for innovation, and the spirit of collaboration. From the centenary of IPD, a testament to enduring scientific excellence, to the breakthrough of messenger RNA and the promise of AI, our network is uniquely positioned to confront the global health challenge of today. Together, we have the opportunity to change the course of our public health by pushing boundaries of science, by building resilience to new threats like Mpox and Marburg, and by ensuring that no one is left behind in the fight of the health equity. Thank you all for your attention and for your passion, dedication. I look forward to the inspiring discussion and the groundbreaking collaboration that will emerge from this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Amadou. I want to now introduce Professor Yasmine Belkaid. She's the Vice President of the Pasteur Network, and she's the President of the Institut Pasteur. Yasmine is a renowned immunologist whose research focuses on the interactions between host immunity, microbiota, and dietary factors. Her work has very far-reaching implications for infectious diseases, immune-related disorders, and cancer, among many others. She previously served as the department chair at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, in the US, and she founded the NIAID Microbiome Program. Yasmine?
I'm actually extremely touched to be here. This is really my first Pasteur Network meeting, and this is really an extremely important moment for me. First, I would like, of course, to thank all the people that have actually contributed to this extraordinary meeting. First, of course, the team of Rebecca that has been absolutely extraordinary. I have to, of course, thank also the Fiocruz, and in particular Mario, for welcoming us today. This is a very, very special bond between Pasteur Institute and the Fiocruz that has been actually bound by decades and centuries, actually, of trust, respect, and collaboration, and I really believe that those shared values are still resonating to the network. I would like to also tell you that as many of you here, and as countless leaders across the planet, I am a child of the network. I was trained in Algeria as an undergrad before moving to the Pasteur Institute in France. And this is really this early imprinting as a Pasteurian, and of course this unwavering belief of the strength of the network as a unique force, a collective force for global health and the growth of the next generation that really convinced me to come back to lead the Pasteur Institute. As a vice president of the Pasteur Network, I'm really deeply committed to make sure that we continue to empower the network that really represent, to my opinion, a unique force, global force to combat global health and actually to just grow the next generation. As the president of the Pasteur Institute, which is actually now the proud member of this collective of many institutes, I would like to reaffirm my commitment and my engagement to make sure that we actually foster strong collaborative network and actually push science as really the bond between all of us. The Pasteur Network represents this unique and needed collective voice to confront major health threats worldwide, and we have the collective responsibility to protect this remarkable association. The challenge that we are facing, as Amadou said, are really too vast for us to face them alone. And we have today the opportunity to redefine a collective identity, to promote transformative research programs for the benefit of all, and most of all, to ensure the growth of the next generation of scientific leaders. The future of the network, and more broadly the future of science, belongs to the next generation of scientists, and we have the duty to promote the growth and the empowerment. I'm really looking forward to the annual meeting, to meet many of you that I haven't met before, to pursue ongoing collaboration and to create new one. I'm looking forward to the years to come, to witness the transformation and the growth of the Pasteur Network, bound by our shared values, trust, and respect. I am honored to be here with you. Before actually closing, I just would like to take a moment to thank one person in particular that is really a truly remarkable force that has really brought us, all of us here together, and it's actually Rebecca Grice. Yes. I have actually witnessed the work of Rebecca over the last year that I have been in Pasteur, and I really would like to say that you have really, really lucky to have her on your side, and we are all lucky to have her on our side. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmine. Now I'll really have to improve my Portuguese. Unfortunately, Nísia is a minister. She's the Minister of Health, and ministers of health have lots of obligations that they sometimes aren't able to anticipate. And she was kind enough to send us a video to provide to all of you tonight. She is a strong advocate for equitable healthcare and scientific research, for those of you that are not aware with her work. She's been instrumental in leading the national health initiatives and guiding Brazil's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. She's also the former president of Fiocruz, and she's a pivotal figure in global health. She's also been a strong supporter of the recent changes in the Pasteur Network and has been a continuing advocate. So she'll speak in Portuguese. So again, please feel free to use your translation, and I hope that the video works.
Colleagues, friends who are right now at the Pasteur Network annual meeting. This is a meeting that I had the pleasure of participating in previous years. I'm so happy that this meeting is happening for the first time in the Americas region. I'd like to hear Manuel Barral Neto, who today coordinates an important project related to health surveillance based on science. I would also like to express my satisfaction in relation to the agenda of this event. This is an event that will discuss two crucial topics, make our ministry engaged with this debate. We also would like to hear from the important suggestions that will come from this event, both for activities at the national level and also regarding our interministerial work under the presidency of President Lula. This will also help us in our international activities. I'd like to remind you that in 1 week we will all be meeting with the health work group of the G20. The Ministry of Health will have me as a direct representative, and there will be Monica Feld from the Department of Science and Technology related to health, DCIT. This is a department that for a long time has been coordinating activities in Brazil and also at the international level in cooperation with other agencies related to health research and public policies. So again, I'm sorry I'm unable to be present in person, but I'm sure that you have very relevant discussions and that very interesting proposals will come out of this annual meeting. So I'd like to greet all of you, and I hope you have a great meeting. Thank you.
And for the same reason that Nísia has some other obligations, we have two other speakers who will also be arriving a little bit later, so we'll change the program. And so I'll take a privilege because I know our next speaker, who is Professor Peter Piot, and we'll ask him to speak now as opposed to after the two officials who will be following. So Peter is a pioneering microbiologist. That sounds like a banal phrase, but he truly is. He's the co-discoverer of the Ebola virus, among many other things. He was the founding executive director of UNAIDS and Under-Secretary General of the United Nations from 1995 until 2008. Under his leadership, UNAIDS became the chief advocate for worldwide action against AIDS. He also spearheaded UN reform by bringing together 10 UN system organizations. That is an extremely difficult task. He's also the former and founding director of UNAIDS. He's received numerous scientific and civic awards, including an honorary doctorate from 7 universities, and all of the awards that he's received are too numerous to name, but 2 of which come to mind are the Noguchi Africa Prize for Medical Research and the Nelson Mandela Award for Health and Human Rights. So please welcome Peter to the stage.
Thank you, Rebecca, and good evening, everybody, colleagues and friends. It's simply wonderful to, I have 10 minutes, not 5. This is wrong. Okay? I'll ignore completely what you tell me. So it's wonderful to be back in Rio. And my first visit coincides when you started at Fiocruz. It was in 1994, so exactly 30 years ago when I was starting with UNAIDS. And after I started, I immediately came to Brazil. Why? Because Brazil was one of the few countries that was not in total denial about the HIV, the AIDS epidemic, and which had one of the most active responses in the world. And with something that I particularly liked is that with a great involvement of civil society, of the gay community, and things that many countries had great difficulties with. So, and one thing that played a role also, that some famous Brazilians died from AIDS, and it was known, like Cazuza, which had a real impact and led to Viva Cazuza, initiative supporting children. Now, Brazil was also the first low-middle income countries that introduced antiretroviral therapy at state expense to its citizens. Today that seems like normal, but we're talking about 1996, the year that this treatment became available. And I remember that also at the UN General Special Session on AIDS in June 2001, that Brazil was the leader of the countries that were fighting to have in the declaration a commitment and the right to health and to antiretroviral therapy for all citizens. Unfortunately, that was blocked by all Western countries except France and Luxembourg, by the African countries, by the Asian countries, because they believed it was not possible, because it's not possible and therefore it's not possible. And so that's for me very important. And then I still remember also one day when there was a major fiscal crisis here, and the IMF had said that big savings, and one of them was to stop antiretroviral therapy to all citizens. Can you imagine? And so I immediately flew to Brasilia and met with President Fernando Henrique Cardoso. And And then he gave a press conference and he said, we will not bow for this, and we will continue to provide life-saving treatment to all our citizens. For me, that was one of the most moving moments in my life, because the pressure was enormous, but the choice was made for people. And and then there was also something with Fiocruz. I visited many times, and one initiative was formalities, to produce generic versions of antiretrovirals. But the first batches were, the quality was not so great. So what we did is we provided financial and technical support, and in no time it produced top quality generic versions of antiretrovirals. So Mario, congratulations. I'm very thankful to Fiocruz, to Brazil, to Rio de Janeiro, and all the people, including in civil society, for being an exemplar for the rest of the world, wherever it would be. And this is thanks to a unique combination of what's dear to my heart, of science and politics. Because science without politics and economy will be great and very interesting intellectually, but will have no impact on people. But politics that is not grounded in science can be very tricky or ineffective and sometimes dangerous. So we need these two, and a commitment to human rights and equity. So this is why I'm so thrilled to be here at this Pasteur Network event. And also on behalf of all my colleagues from the Strategic Advisory Board, we've really been impressed by the program. And it comes at a time of where we're at crossroads in global health, I would say. There's lots of changes in the world, and as you know, we had global health is a term that only appeared around the millennium. The century before didn't exist. We talked about international health and tropical medicine before, and so on. And so it's a pretty recent, concept. And the collective action has really saved literally millions of lives. Let's not forget that, but the agenda is unfinished. But the world, as we know, and health have changed a lot. And so we must change too. And I always say that the only constant in life is change. And that's not always easy to accept. And then, of course, we had the epidemic and the pandemic. And out of the pandemic became a whole discourse around preparedness. But I believe that we need to think beyond pandemic preparedness, and we heard from Mario some of the big issues, but we need to address also some massive historical trends that are going to fundamentally shift the current practice and even the foundation of global health. And let me, I think, in three categories here. The first one are threats which will definitely happen. We don't know when. Epidemics, there will be more. There's no doubt about that, when. And one of them will be probably a major antimicrobial resistance epidemic that's going to be absolutely disastrous. Then we have things that we all hope will not happen, but we need to prepare for them. Nuclear disasters, wars, bioterrorism, and so on. And then we have, what I think is most important, are changes and threats that are already happening. We're in the middle of them. The minister mentioned climate change. There's no doubt about it. And it affects everything we do, and also in our practice of global health and research. And it's a big argument also for taking a One Health approach, and not only thinking of health in terms of humans, but also the whole planetary health, I would say. Secondly, and that's partly good news, a demographic shift. We've never lived that long. It's like amazing how long we're now living. Just take Brazil. In 1990, the average life expectancy at birth was 66 years. Today is around 73, or even a bit longer, above the world average now. Before, Brazil was under the world average, which is, again, a major achievement. At the same time, the fertility rate, like in Brazil, went down from 6.1 in 1950, now it's 1.6. And so the good news, we're living longer. The bad news is that the health span is not following our biological age. Our healthy life is not there. And it's leading to enormous pressure on the healthcare system, on social security systems, on the economy. In some Asian countries are ahead of the curve, and Europe, but in Latin America also, it's really coming up in an accelerating phase. And therefore, we need to address that, and not seeing it as a burden. I have, of course, a conflict of interest since I'm 75, but we need to talk about healthy longevity and also look at the science behind that. And that goes from immunosenescence. There are many different questions that we have to respond besides all the economics. And then thirdly is that the rise of chronic conditions or non-communicable diseases. I'm a member of a commission, a Lancet commission, that is dealing with the threat for the rest of the century. And it is every single scenario comes up with diabetes as the number one biggest issue. Number one by far. Already today in Brazil and Latin America, it is ischemic heart disease, it's stroke, it's diabetes. They're at the top. Although there's still infectious diseases, and of course I'm biased because I'm an infectious disease physician, but this is something that also has major implications. I mean, look at obesity epidemic and so on, but new technologies. And again, we need to think, what does it mean for our for our work. And then I see two technological developments. Yes, so it says time is up, so should I stop now? No, I'll speak longer, okay? Yeah, this is supposed to be a free country. And the two technological ones are, one is digital transformation. And with AI, and I think we're a bit naive sometimes in our circles, what it means. It's a wave. It's a wave which will sweep everything in its path. And it may lead to the redistribution of power on a historic scale with two extremes. Monopolies, both business and government, and extreme dictatorships and control. And on the other hand, extreme opportunities, unprecedented, from drug discovery to medical devices and to empowerment of individuals. So this is something that we need to think through how we run. And then the other one is that one that is very familiar to the network, and that is in biotechnology. We have the basic research is there. There are lots of new approaches. But what I'm seeing now happening, and that is really important, is that all the techniques are becoming far more accessible. It's a bit like the time where we had a computer. What's in my mobile phone now required a computer, I'm not exaggerating, as big as half of this room. And we see with biotechnology also, thanks to engineering more than anything else, that we see that we can do things today and decentralize it, and that is really important. Now, how we do things is equally important. And the first one, and Mario already referred to it also, but that is that we need to go, and we are on the way to more equitable partnerships. And that's what I would say Pasteur Network 2 or 3.0 is all about as well. And that's not just to be nice, but it's also because the centers of excellence are all over. It's no longer limited to some high-income countries. The geopolitics have changed, and I think that what it comes now down to, besides the fact that the money is still coming from very few countries, is that the agendas have to be set now also where the action is. Secondly, and that's I would say, is the rise of regional manufacturing. Mario alluded to it. One of the silver linings of this pandemic has been the awareness that scarcity leads to is an enemy of equity. And we can have treaties, beautiful treaties in the world, but sovereignty will, national sovereignty will always prevail. And that's why the only way to go around that is manufacturing where the action is, where the problems are. That's going to make and solve far more lives than any agreement. And I was in Sao Paulo I was accompanying Heidi, my wife, at the Developing Country Vaccine Manufacturing Network, and where this was, with Biomanguinhos and so on. I was really very happy to see that there is a momentum there that I think is irreversible, that the train is out of the station. We've been talking about that for years, but now, thanks to the crisis, I always say never miss a good crisis, that is happening. And the third one is that we need a reform of global institutions. And that's, I won't go into that, but again, it's the regional entities are become more important. And that's never been clearer than in Africa, where for the first time, there was not just waiting for charity from the north, but thanks to the fact that Africa CDC was created and that the whole movement, that is also leading to regional manufacturing. I'll conclude now here for those who are worried about my time. Then that is that it's my conviction that the Pasteur Network 2.0 is uniquely placed to address these changes, these challenges, and to actually shape how we respond to the world and to make lives and the world a better place. And that is because at the moment I feel that the sum is not yet greater than the whole of the parts. We need to an equation where 32 institutions is not 32 times 1, but 32, maybe that it means 50. And that is through working together, driven by science and equity concern, but also, as we see at this event, that joint enterprises, because that will reach a critical mass and benefit people, and of course investing in people, particularly in younger scientists. So I'm no doubt that the Pasteur Network ecosystem has a bright future, but no time to lose. We need action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Next, I want to introduce Dr. Manuel Barão-Neto. He's from Fiocruz, Bahia. He's an immunologist who specializes in parasitic infections like leishmaniasis and malaria. His work, and particularly in digital health applications for early disease detection, is extremely well regarded. And he leads something called the ESOP project. And it's for respiratory infection outbreak detection. And he's been awarded numerous scientific honors. And we have the pleasure of having him here today to explain a bit of his research. Manuel?
Good evening, everybody. It's really a pleasure and an honor to speak tonight. And of course, it's also a challenge speaking after Peter. So like Rebecca said, I know some of these, like Yasmine, when we were both leishmaniacs. And but we moved a lot for other fields. And so what I'm going to show you was really something that came out in our talk with Rebecca and myself when she invited me to give this presentation. So the idea is really to present the use of administrative health data in Brazil for evaluating health policies and also for surveillance, health surveillance. So what I'm really going to show you is mainly based on the Center for Integration of Health Data that is based in Fiocruz in Bahia. And this center was really, proposed and conceived by Professor Mauricio Barreto, who is a close friend that is, with his brilliance and determination, really put the center up and really prepared for all these integrations of very large databases. So Mauricio was initially focused on evaluation of health policies, and then Okay. And then, I hope that, okay. And then what he did was really, I mean, a terribly powerful proposal of very large cohorts, Brazilian cohorts. So there's this 100 million cohorts that is now really 144 million, almost 70% of the, above 70% of the whole population. And it's really integrating data that are bona fide health data, but also some others that are really from other aspects, like socioeconomic and environmental aspects that are of importance to health. So it's possible to evaluate not only biological effects, but also socioeconomic and environmental influences on health. So the first example is then really the cohort itself, and there's a sub-cohort on newborns that are really representing 55% of the children that was born in Brazil between 2001 and 2015. So these are really very powerful possibilities of investigating several aspects, and I will illustrate that first in infectious diseases, like showing that in Zika, it was really a large mortality that continued for 3 years of life of these children compared with non-infected mothers. So it's really a kind of a very potent kind of analysis that is possible because you're dealing with very large data from different aspects. And of course, I will emphasize again that this is administrative data. It's not data that were collected for research. So it's a lot cheaper than doing planning a cohort like that, because we use the data that are available and make a cohort for evaluating. And also with chikungunya, that we recently showed that also there's a large impact on mortality of people that had chikungunya even 3 months after the acute phase. So it's really of clear importance in terms of planning and caring for these individuals. And also child mortality, there are some important differences in not only in infectious diseases, but also in suicide rate, cardiovascular disease, and even international, compared to international and national migrants in Brazil. And there's a lot of difference in terms of mortality and health impact. Comparing, no, it's, the voice is bad anyway. So thank you. So the idea is really that we were dealing more with this kind of cohorts and analysis of that cohort, and then came COVID. And then Mauricio and myself, we really coordinated a big effort to really evaluate vaccine effectiveness in Brazil. We had very large numbers of individuals vaccinated. We used the 3 platforms, vaccine platforms available, and we had a lot of combinations of these. So it was really possible in a very short period of time to really evaluate effectiveness and give information for the Brazilian health system, but also to other countries that did not have the same power in terms of investigating these aspects. Many things on protection against severe COVID, against previous COVID, people that had COVID, what it was necessary or not to receive a vaccine, and a combination of vaccine schemes. So there was a lot of things, and also special groups like pregnant, indigenous people. And so it was really an important effort that showed us really that Brazil's administrative data vaccination possesses a necessary volume and quality to examine the various aspects of essential for guiding public health actions. But more than that, it's really possible to mount a system, a continuous system, to monitor effectiveness of vaccination in Brazil if everything is really combined and structured in this way. So it was beyond an evaluation for COVID, but it's possible to really have these monitoring aspects of COVID in a long plan. And then I will come to the last example that was the one mentioned by Rebecca, that is really ESOP. ESOP is really it's a system based on pieces that are known, but putting that in a system that was really to evaluate anomalies in the tenets of the numbers of encounters in the primary health care that are related with acute respiratory diseases. So the idea is really to have a baseline and see when in a given city the number is above the expected for this place at this time. So what we do then is really having this signal, and we are also now working with drug sales and preparing to enter in the social media signals, but mainly we are working so far with the primary health care. And then we pinpoint the municipalities where it's necessary to really take samples and then do molecular pathogen characterization. So it's much cheaper to do where there is some trouble than to do that in a very randomic way. So the idea is really to put that together and then model the dispersion of the outbreak for orientation of what is being done. The current situation is really in the upper map here. We have that Brazil has a lot of, all municipalities in Brazil report data. Many of them report very timely in the same week that the event occurred. There are exceptions, mainly large cities. The capitals are not so good as the small cities, but it's important really to do this kind of approaches. And then it was the first demonstration that we could gain 2 to 4 weeks of time by detecting anomalies in the healthcare system before the number of cases appear in the as a complex infections. And then we are working that in all 557 municipalities, 5,000 municipalities, Brazilian municipalities. And so in a weekly basis, we have these reports of what's going on in each municipalities. And through the Ministry of Health, we do not really put in contact directly with any municipalities. Is everything in the national system. And then to orient these municipalities, what is occurring and what is necessary to perform. And then we are also monitoring some special cases, like we're monitoring cities in Brazil that has a lot of poultry, and also cities in Brazil that have a large representation of cattle, and large numbers of cattle. And of course, this is waiting to see what happens with the flu, the avian flu, H5N1, because then we are, monitoring like these aspects, and also monitoring especially all the border cities, land or in the ocean, and trying to really have an aspect that is focused. It's the same kind of evaluation, but then focusing or giving an extra interest on these aspects. And then, since we had also in terms of modeling, human mobility is very important for dispersion of infectious respiratory diseases. And then what we did was really to evaluate all the terrestrial, hydrohydric kind of transportation and airspace, and then we determined all the hubs, possible hubs in Brazil. First level hubs and second level hubs in terms of transit, mobility, people mobility. And what we have here is then the possibility of modeling the dispersion in a very strong possibility using these numbers. But at the same time, what we did was really to revisit the sentinel units and see if the sentinel units were really appropriately dispersed in Brazil. And what we see is really, if we change about half of them, we could really, without any increasing number, have a 34% more coverage in terms of mobility with the same number of units. So it's possible really to plan more scientifically the location of sentinel units for the country. And then the idea is that we now moving from the syndromic to the symphonic phase of the surveillance. If we have possibility of mobility, transport, socioeconomic data, and then also add climate on these aspects. So if we really are able to integrate all these, we're going to be much closer to the real life kind of situation that we can investigate. So these are really this is really the last one. It's really the summary comments. So integrating diverse data sources is essential for tailoring interventions. Digital health technologies enable real-time collection and analysis. Using administrative data substantially decreases the cost of studies, and big data analytics provides detailed insights and accurate predicts target and make risk predictions and target interventions. And I will go to the last one. That is really it's also possible to have in a data-driven, secure, and privacy-protected system to support international cooperation. So this is one thing that we can really discuss further with Pasteur network, the possibility of adapting systems. All the system is non-proprietary. It's all open source. It's open, available to use. So to discuss possibilities of adjusting, it's not copy and paste, but it's possible to adjust some similar ideas in terms of regional variations in circumstances. And then it's a large group, of course, because there's lots of different aspects dealt with, and it's not complete here. But then thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Manuel. Undersecretary Ribeiro and Dr. Salons, well, they're using ESOP, and they work for the Rio de Janeiro Department of Health and are currently occupied. So we have the pleasure now. I'd like to introduce and ask Odette Tomesco-Hatu to come to the stage, please. She's the Executive Vice President for International Affairs at the Institut Pasteur. She holds a PhD in International Relations from Sciences Po in Paris and a Master's of Science from the University of Montreal. Previously, she served as the Deputy Director of European and International Affairs at the Institute for Advanced Defense Studies under the Prime Minister of France's office, and she has the honor of presenting the Talent Award this year. Thank you, Odette.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. It's also my first Pasteur Network annual meeting because I joined Institut Pasteur in January, so I'm actually rather new as well. And it's a great pleasure to open the 2024 Talent Award ceremony today. As an historical brief about this prize, so since 2017, the prize is funded by the Institut Pasteur Paris and rewards researchers from Pasteur Network who have demonstrated strong scientific and leadership potential. Overall, so since almost 10 years now, 12 researchers have received an award. So 8th edition today, and the first edition, Science and Communication. So open and clear communication helps build trust between scientists and the public, between scientists and the public, and usually the larger societies, civil societies. So this trust is crucial in times of crisis, pandemics, where scientific advice directly impacts public behavior and safety. And I think we had several examples from Ebola crisis, from COVID, and so on, when we are definitely looking to bridge the gap and to create bonds between the scientific community and the civil society, between the larger public in general, and to find opinion leaders to really go to the roots and convince the local communities of the benefits of the science. So for these reasons, the prize recognizes the achievements of one talented scientist from the Pasteur Network who has not only strong scientific commitment, but also demonstrated a sense of initiative in sharing their work to a broader public. Candidates were asked to present their research, their involvement in previous communication campaigns, as well as a communication plan that disseminates the impact of their current research to a larger public in a way that is relevant and can be easily grasped. So basically, to make everyone understand what science is about. The award supports the development of such initiatives, And the prize is 20,000 euros, part of which it will be allocated to support the communication plan presented by the candidate. And of course, this very original work, very multidisciplinary, because it's science and actually it's communication, but also social sciences, anthropology, sociology, so a whole work in a very multidisciplinary way. We received actually many candidacies, some of which were considered outstanding by almost all are outstanding actually by the selection committee. Unfortunately, only one prize could be awarded, but we wish plenty of success to the other applicants who showed great commitment in their application. So it's a great honor for me to announce Claire Samba-Kembi as the winner of this first Science and Communication edition of Talent Awards. Please. Welcome, Claire. So I would like to say a few words about your career, and then we are going to have a short video, and then you are going to present actually your extremely interesting project, and this is why you won this prize. So Claire joined the medical and entomology department at the Institut Pasteur in Bangui in 2015, where she conducted her thesis between the Institut de Recherche pour le Développement and Institut Pasteur de Bangui. She also benefited of previous CalMets and Yasmine mobilities to conduct internships in the framework of her PhD in Gabon and Montpellier. She is now a recognized entomologist at the Institut Pasteur de Bangui, where she successfully leveraged funding from the Gates Foundation and Wellcome Trust to support her research. Her findings have been published in prestigious scientific journals, including Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences. As part of its En Afrique, la science au féminin series, the newspaper Le Monde dedicated an article to her work. She supported the Ministry of Public Health in preparing responses to potential yellow fever virus epidemics in Central African Republic, demonstrating a great sense of commitment in bridging the gap between entomological research and public health policy in Central African Republic. Her research on diurnal biting of malaria mosquito in Central African Republic has made significant contributions to understanding malaria transmissions dynamics. She's planning to take these results to local communities directly impacted by vector-borne diseases. Congratulations, Claire, for these achievements.
Je suis Dr Claire Samba-Kembi, assistante de recherche en entomologie médicale à l'Institut Pasteur de Bangui. Et je travaille plus précisément sur les vecteurs qui transmettent le paludisme, c'est-à-dire les anophèles. Je suis plus focalisée sur la compréhension des bases génétiques, de la transmission du paludisme et de la résistance aux insecticides et anophèles. Nous travaillons sur plusieurs projets avec différentes thématiques. Il y a d'autres qui sont focalisés sur le microbiome des moustiques, savoir quelle espèce de bactérie peut impacter sur la transmission du plasmodium chez les moustiques. Il y a d'autres projets qui sont plus focalisés sur la persistance, la résistance à la dielgrine chez les moustiques en milieu urbain. Pourquoi est-ce que nous n'utilisons plus le DDT mais cette résistance persiste en milieu urbain? Au vu de toutes ces thématiques, nous comptons publier nos résultats dans les meilleurs journaux. Et par la suite, nous comptons également former la jeune génération de chercheurs. Après cela, il serait mieux de créer un réseau de chercheurs à l'international qui nous permettra de rechercher le futur financement.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege and true honor to address all of you today. First of all, I would like to thank the Pasteur Network staff, the event organizer, and the Talent Award Committee. In addition, a particular thanks goes to all my collaborators and colleagues at Institut Pasteur of Bangui. I thank as well my mentor, Dr. Diego Ayala at Institut Pasteur of Madagascar, for his long support, for his long scientific support. A special thanks goes to the two best individuals who believe in me, the scientific director, Prof. Emmanuel Nankuni, and my top manager of Institut Pasteur of Bangui, Prof. Yabumtu. In my line of duty at Institut Pasteur of Bangui, my current activity focus on understanding the persistence of insecticide resistance RDL allele in Central African Republic by assessing the RDL resistance male mating level in different contexts. To address this, mosquitoes were collected early morning inside house in urban and rural area. Then, Tachman genotyping PCR was used to identify the different RDL gene allele in adult mosquitoes. The results show the high frequency of RDL resistance mutation in the urban area than rural area. My research interest area also include malaria vector biting behavior. Previously, I completed a study aiming at including I completed a study aiming at okay, I can do. Okay, sorry. Previously, I completed a study aiming at evaluating the full daily rhythmicity of Anopheles biting in urban Bangui. To achieve this, mosquitoes were collected using human landing card during 48 hours around the clock. It was found that 22% of mosquito bites occur during daylight hour. In addition, the prevalence of Plasmodium falciparum was similar daytime and nighttime biting mosquitoes. This finding highlights a significant gap in malaria control strategy, advocating for a broader approach that includes daytime measures. As you many all know, malaria is the leading cause of infant mortality in the Central African Republic, while current control tools focus on children under 5 and pregnant women. Older children who act as hidden reservoirs are neglected. In addition, my recent finding on change on mosquito behavior, such as increased daytime biting, complicate control efforts. For those reasons, my communication plan project will engage Around 1,080 households across 6 districts, involving 40 households and 4 schools per village. To efficiently communicate with this local community, French and our national language will be used to overcome language barriers and to make the information accessible to everyone in order to build trust in health initiative. By providing clear and accurate information, these projects aim to raise awareness, encourage personal protective behavior in order to reduce malaria incidents. As an education campaign, key message to be delivered will include the fact that malaria is the deadly disease causing significant mortality, especially among infants and young children. Awareness can drive proactive protection measures. Sleeping under mosquito net is essential day and night, especially for children. Having out house during the day can reduce indoor mosquitoes. Early diagnosis and treatment for fever can prevent severe complications. This campaign will promote regular health checkup and educate about malaria symptoms. To effectively convey the message, a combination of flyer, poster, photo, educational video, and community meeting will be used to demonstrate the mosquito breeding site and the good way to use mosquito net, and also illustrate the mosquito life cycle. To ensure the success and the effectiveness of this communication campaign, number of participants, pre- and post-campaign survey to follow population behavior change will be used as evaluation tool. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Claire, for outlining your research, your amazing research. So you used to say that communication is power, and I think that you are going to have a tremendous impact at the local level with the results, explaining the benefits of what you did, and also for the local communities, it's very, very important to understand the benefits of science. So this is the reward for your work, and I wish you many more to come.
Ok. Je suis très heureuse de recevoir aujourd'hui le Talent Award et surtout la première édition de ce merveilleux talent. Je vais encore remercier une fois de plus mon directeur, Prof. Yaboum, de m'avoir donné l'opportunité, de m'avoir accompagné durant ces quelques années et de m'avoir poussé afin de participer à cette édition. Merci beaucoup, Prof. Yaboum.
Thank you, Claire. I just want to thank one more time Professor Peter Piot, Dr. Amadou Sall, Professor Yasmine Belkaid, Dr. Manuel Baronieto, and of course, Mario Moreira. I just have a couple notes at the end. The first thing is, science is not devoid of fun and laughter. The point of this is to also have some caipirinhas, to talk to other people. Sometimes that's how the best collaborations are made. So what we'd like to do now is take a group photo, which will be right outside these doors, and then there are ushers and members of the staff who will take you to the room where we'll be having a cocktail, and hopefully, if it's not raining, there's an outside terrace. So please enjoy yourselves, have fun tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.